If you don't know what Artfight is, let me tell you. Artfight is a semi-collaborative art event during the month of July each year. The main idea is that two teams battle against each other, doing so by drawing art for each other. For every drawing, or other depiction, of a character you make, you collect points for your team. Although it's a competition, the event is not about winning. The spirit of Artfight lies in people gifting art to each other and watching the other's reaction to it.
Most people were absolutely lovely, and I don't see much merit in lingering at the negatives, especially as there were so few, and all of those were pretty petty on my part, if anything. It feels like I spent a lot of time preparing, but that's not really true. I didn't really make any new references for the event. I lazily updated a few of the horribly outdated designs with placeholder alterations to better show off the idea of the character, and occasionally compiled some outfits and such to make room for more images. I also added some characters which I wasn't able to introduce last time. Other than that, the only ref I did for the sake of the event was Lumens. He was a recent concept I came up with, meaning he had no art to go off of. But I liked the idea of him and figured people might want to draw him. And I was right. Very, very right. So I'm glad I decided to include him. I did spend a lot of energy remaking my profile though, especially with my random character gif, which went through a couple evolutions, but also just with the general layout. It was a lot of fun though, and I'm really happy with the result. I had hyped myself up for the event for like a month before it actually started, which is kinda nerve-wracking. My main goal was just to make more attacks than I did last year, which I felt was a realistic enough approach. Last year I did 3. Safe to say, I definitely surpassed that this time. I've always thought of myself as a kind of slow artist, but I think I've come to realize that I'm mainly just impatient. I can struggle a lot in the sketching phase, which will slow me down and may remove much of my enthusiasm for a project, often to the point of abandoning it, unfortunately. This is probably part of the reason why I tend to burn out so quickly. So Artfight did seem like a pretty colossal task to put upon myself. However, I like collabing and being in that space, and I wanted to at least try. I ultimately don't think my creative vision is worth the struggle it takes to make it come to life. At least not very often. I think that's also part of it. So having that extra motivation of, oh, this person is gonna love this, really is a huge one. I hadn't drawn a fully rendered full body illustration since December. And even then I hurried my way through it, which shows in the result. And now, suddenly, with this newly discovered motivator, I was drawing full bodies left and right. I even did one with 2 characters. And line art. I drew a piano. I made GIFs. Then also the occasional flop. But it's fine. The point is I was drawing. Like, every day I was drawing. I did more art in a week than I have in a year. And looking at it now, when the event is over, I miss that. I miss constantly having something to do, a vision to fulfill, and motivation to carry me through it. Art can be very lonely. You sit alone in a room doing your best to trust the process, which can be very hard. For me, it's always somewhat of a mental battle. Artfight helped a lot of those aspects feel a lot less grueling. On top of that, I wasn't just attacking people. People were attacking me! This was obviously the result of me constantly posting about my account and characters in that month leading up to the event, as well as my attacks once it had started. Last year I wasn't on TikTok at all, nor really speaking or posting about it anywhere. This year it was practically my whole personality. And that worked. Perhaps a little overwhelmingly well. I got 2 defenses last year. Beautiful, wonderful 2 defenses. This year, I got 22, not including mass attacks. That is an insane jump to me. I would say though, my first Artfight year was a very well-rounded
Artfight Experience. I got one defense immediately. I made a revenge. Then I made another attack. And then I got a lovely comment on it. Well-rounded, well-experienced. I've always had the idea that my bookmarks would be my top priority, and revenges would come second. This worked out when I only had one attack to revenge. This year, I felt the pressure. Oh, I felt the pressure. I know there's no rule that you have to revenge every attack you get. In fact, I had never promised I would, and I never will. But I still try to, would still really like to. Out of my 21 attacks, 14 were revenges. There was a point where I started to nearly get more stressed than excited at the sight of an attack notification, as that meant I'd have to draw yet another revenge. And please don't misunderstand me here. I did love learning about every OC I drew, and I did enjoy at least some part about every creation process. And every artist was so lovely to interact with. It was my own expectations on myself that worsened the experience. The desperation to complete that transaction I had entirely made up in my own head. But I truly am so grateful for every piece of art that I've gotten, and I wish there was so much more I could do. That made me feel guilty. Excitement is a great motivator. Stress and guilt is not. And it was within that quick shift that my motivation withdrew from me. All the while, new attacks were still rolling in at a technically manageable rate. But I just didn't quite have it in me anymore. And that's when I sat down to, first, finish an attack for my bookmarks that I wanted to make last year, and then start writing the script for this video. After a few hours of doom scrolling, of course. I love Artfight. I had such a good time this year. Ultimately, this video is just one big disguised apology to ease that guilt a bit. To tell you, and through that tell myself, that it's okay if you don't manage to revenge every single attack or get everything you wanted to get done. I set out a realistic goal for myself, and I completed it. I had fun, and I stopped when it wasn't anymore. That's what should matter. Artfight is not supposed to be that serious. It's for fun, so keep it fun. And kind. Now that that's said and done, I'm gonna go spend some overdue quality time with my family. Exist in the real world. Though, I'm already looking forward to next year.